The SKT Dynasty is over? It's hard to believe that one of esports' longest standing dynasties could end just like that. And when you look back at SKT's dynasty, where it began, just how dominant they were, and how significant that team was to the development of League of Legends esports as a whole, it was honestly a little depressing to see it end in such a way.
There are no turrets. It is 5 versus 3. Huni, do you have what it takes to win the game? Big certainly does not. Ruler on the Nexus. The upset is complete as the kills come through. The SKT Dynasty is over. All hail the new kings. Samsung Galaxy, your 2017 World Champions.
And when you consider all of these aspects, there's almost no denying the fact that esports needed a dynasty like SKT's, and they will need more going forward. It's understandable that people discuss parity as any fan's dream. Some fans are sentimental about the time before a dynasty, claiming that one team's dominance makes the scene too predictable.
All aboard the Korean hype train, SK Telecom T1!
But what most people won't tell you, especially in esports, is that the scene needs these predictable results. It needs the Goliaths because David's story wouldn't be complete without them.
Samsung Galaxy, the only team to ever dethrone SKT at Worlds. They do it on the biggest stage the league has ever seen.
And consider this. The dynasties that exist in esports deal with much more than just an ever-growing level of competition. They also deal with constant patches.
The goal is always that people have options. It's like, could we see Zyra in Worlds? If the answer to that question is yes, then we've done a good job and we're at a great ecosystem.
Would the Chicago Bulls of the 1990s be as dominant as they were if the size of the rim or the height of the basket changed each year? It's impossible to say because sports don't live in that environment, but esports do. So we need these teams. We need these superstars. We need them to provide consistency in an environment where consistency is seemingly unattainable. We need these teams to set records that will stand for years to come. We need the teams that one day can set new ones. And when they do, we need it to be special, to be something new. Back in the early to late 2000s, it was the Bonjuas of the Brood War era that helped first establish the foundation of the esports scene we see today. Guys like Boxer, iLoveUv, and Savior all established an era of dominance that became a sort of measuring stick to the accomplishments of all of those who came after them. Aside from elevating the level of professional play, general fans of the game tried to replicate the playstyles and strategies of the Bonjuas. And who could blame them? They were the best of the best at their respective races. So in the 2000s, thousands of kids logged onto the StarCraft ladders trying to replicate Savior's 3-hatch Mutalisk builds. Just like how thousands of kids flocked to the ball court to try and replicate Michael Jordan's tongue-out fadeaways. But while StarCraft's popularity and influence cannot be overstated in the East, it would take a little bit longer for the West to pick up on esports as a legitimate form of competition. That was until the multiplayer online battle arena genre took off. Dota 2 and League of Legends became the most widely played games in the world, and by 2011, both companies made serious commitments to their esports scene as a way to market and grow their game. Valve announced The International, a tournament that boasted the biggest prize pool in esports history at $1.6 million in 2011 for the game's unveiling at Gamescom. And that's where Dota 2's first dynasty would emerge. Natus Vincere.
There's moments of esports that are landmark, and this is one of them in Cologne. And Na'Vi, the winners, you guys have just made history.
Between 2011 and 2013, Na'Vi not only set the record for the most international Grand Finals appearances with 3, but they captured over 15 premier tournament titles as well. Their fiercely aggressive and passionate style of play quickly made them fan favorites. From what is now known as The Play to the controversial Fountain Hooks, Na'Vi and the way in which they played the game made others want to pick up the keyboard and mouse to do the same.
Oh, there's the sleep, the surge, he catches everyone. Oh, this could be a total disaster. Vacuum in, Ravage on everyone. The black hole as well, Light of Heaven turns it around. Ravage as well, stolen by Deadly. Are you kidding me? They turn it around. 4 heroes dead, 4 5
T1 trying to survive.
But their relevance to Dota 2 and to esports as a whole goes beyond just that. As the first team to ever win $1 million from a single esports event, Navi broke down the notion that esports could never be lucrative. And for those who dreamed of making a living off of esports, that was the moment they knew it could all be worthwhile. Although 2013 would be the end of Navi's time atop the Dota 2 food chain, in the East, in League of Legends, a new team was making waves and establishing themselves as a young and exciting team to watch. SK Telecom T1K.
Wow, can you say GG? There's a crow storm, but it's a party. That's all for SKT right now.
SK Telecom T1K broke out into the competitive scene with a bang. A solo queue prodigy turned pro by the name of Faker was making fools of his opponents, with mechanical prowess previously never seen before in the game's already 3-year competitive history.
What was that?
Faker with a huge play, the QSS!
I can't believe I just saw that!
He was so unbelievably good, and his teammates so effective at supporting him, that he would single-handedly win matches on carries like LeBlanc. Thanks to Faker's godliness, SKT from 2013 to 2017 have attended 4 League of Legends World Championships, and won 3.
The undisputed best team in the world, the SKT reign continues, they win their 3rd World Championship!
They've captured 2 out of a possible 4 mid-season invitational titles, and have more domestic league titles than any other franchise in Korean history. Their consistency atop the League of Legends esports food chain helped grow the game, much like the way the Magic Johnson Lakers and the Larry Bird Celtics helped to grow the NBA from its humble roots in the 1980s. Marketability and consistency were SKT, and especially Faker's bread and butter. As much as SKT needed Riot Games, it was a symbiotic relationship. League's player base began to explode, and people became more interested in the esports scene because they wanted to get better at the game. And it was in this critical time that SKT's Faker emerged as the game's greatest player.
It's very hard to have position, and we hear an ultimate pop, and we see a turn.
Yeah, Dredgeline coming through. Big
equalizer!
Big shockwave comes through. Faker just absolutely devastates the ranks of KT roster. A triple kill for him.
And just like any other sport markets its best players and teams, so did Riot Games. From studio features to interviews, Riot took full advantage of SKT's popularity and marketability. And for good reason. As a new fan entering the scene, it's easy to attach yourself to the best teams. The teams that consistently make playoffs, that are consistently contenders at Worlds. In an environment as fickle as esports, where organizations can come and go at a whim, brand loyalty is hard to come by unless you're a team that can consistently stay atop the standings.
SKT, masters of control, will take down the Nexus, will take down RNG, and are headed to their 4th World Championship final.
Plus, esports has had a relatively short history compared to traditional sports. Teams that have defined these games are still around, so it's easy to become attached to those accomplishments. It's easy to cling to those unforgettable moments. Games that feature SKT are still some of the most watched games in League of Legends esports. And when Faker himself first streamed on Twitch, it broke records. Much like the Tiger effect in golf, where TV ratings shoot up when Tiger plays in a tournament and commentating prioritizes Woods' placings and scores, the same effect occurred with SKT and Faker. Streams, games, plays, features, interviews, really anything that featured SKT or Faker instantly went viral, and the broadcasters consistently focused in on SKT and Faker in their commentaries.
I mean, there's people all the way up to the ceiling, and then we have Faker doing his like anime villain stare in the introduction. Like,
I thought he was gonna smile at some point, but no.
And this effect continued into the 2017 World Championships. Even with Samsung firmly in control of the series, the casters continued to focus on the team that had won so many World Championships before.
SKT do not lose World Championships. They have some ungodly record that ends in 0 losses when they're in elimination games at Worlds, and you might see it here today.
Outside of MOBAs, in the past decade, one other title has stood out. Counter-Strike Global Offensive.
This is not positioning queue. Oh my god, what?
And one CSGO team dominated among them all. Fnatic. Olafmeister and Krim solidified what is now a legendary lineup in 2014. In 2015, the team won a major championship at ESL One Katowice, their first in what would become back-to-back major victories. And in the summer of 2015, Fnatic would take home 5 of a possible 10 Premier Tournament titles. And Fnatic's domination came at a key time for the CS scene. ESL One Cologne broke records in the competitive CSGO scene with over 11,000 people attending the event each day. But it also broke 1 million concurrent viewers for the first time in CSGO history. CSGO has since exploded from a relatively small scene to one of the biggest games in the world, and Fnatic's back-to-back major victories were a big part of that boom. Though all of these dynasties have ended, their contribution to League of Legends eSports, to Dota, and to CSGO cannot be understated.
There is no greater achievement in League of Legends than beating SKT in a world final.
Esports as a whole has benefited from their marketability, their consistency, and their resilience. But it wasn't just those 3 titles. Esports as we know it wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the Bonjours of the StarCraft era, the Optic and FaZe gaming teams of the Halo and Call of Duty days, or the NIPs and SK Gamings of CSGO. Though parity in esports might be the ultimate goal, for now we should welcome each dynasty with open arms, because it's those teams, the star players they produce, the plays they've made, the memories they've created, and the kids they've inspired that made and will continue to make esports great.
That's a double, that's a triple. Duke's looking for the quadra kill, and it will be secured by Faker.
Thanks for watching. If you want more great content just like this, be sure to hit the subscribe button.